represent the very best of our civilization. And what all that effort and devotion have produced here is a marvelously efficient death machine. The sole use for this ship is to kill people and destroy what people have built. In just a few days, it could devastate a fair-sized country all by itself. And in just a few minutes, it and all the people in it could be destroyed by some other death machine.
Yet most of the men on this carrier do not need a warrior's mentality at all. The only people on the carrier whose job would ever involve fighting an enemy they can see are the pilots, who do still need all the traditional military values and add to them the special mystique of high technology.
Flying fighters is from the Navy standpoint, is pretty much the top of the profession as far as desirability.
We're designed to shoot down aircraft at speeds of 3.0 Mach and, that are constantly moving, and they're also trying to shoot us, okay? And so it makes it a whole lot more of a challenge as far as we're concerned.
We carry the heat-seeking Sidewinder missile. That's always launched within visual range of the enemy, because we have to acquire his infrared signature with our own eyes before we can put the missile on. And then for the old Red Baron type dogfight, then we have a 20-millimeter Gatling gun, which fires about 6,000 bullets per minute. Doesn't even sound like a machine gun anymore. It howls like a banshee. It's not the safest profession you'd want to get into.
Even for the pilots, combat is really machine against machine. For everybody else on the carrier, there are even further layers of technology between them and the enemy. And what has always been true for sailors and airmen is increasingly true for ground troops as well. Most soldiers everywhere serve machines now, and machines are very inflexible. No matter where you come from or who you are, you have to mold yourself to their requirements. There's only one right way to operate a tank. For the past 2 centuries, the individuals who've learned about battle in this room have been Russians.
And the army they served, whether Tsarist or Soviet, has been a distinctively Russian army. This metal beast behind me and all the other machines that rule modern warfare may gradually be putting an end to that. Mechanization is removing the human element from warfare. And I don't know any serious soldier who doesn't worry about it.
What really worries the soldiers is that if it is not their uniquely human soldierly qualities that decide a battle anymore, but just the machines they serve, then the whole basis of their warrior self-image is threatened. That self-image is vital because it shores up the moral armor dividing their world from ours. They kill, but they are not murderers. They die, but they are not accident victims. They are honorable men engaged in a noble struggle. So most soldiers reject the idea that technology is undermining their traditional role.
The most important thing is the man who is using the weapons. It doesn't matter what the weapons are. Assuming he knows how to use the weapons and is well trained, the soldier or officer who will win is the one who thoroughly understands the goals of the war, who is striving to achieve these goals, and who is ready to sacrifice his life in the name of these goals.
Soldiers must believe that the new weapons have not devalued the importance of the traditional soldierly virtues. Otherwise, their actions would no longer have meaning in their own eyes. But the contrast between the soldier's self-image and reality has been made far sharper by the advance of technology.
This is the pattern room at the Royal Small Arms Factory Enfield in North London, and here you can see how a century of technological change has undermined the traditional glory of the military profession. This, for example, is the standard British infantry rifle adopted in 1895, the Lee Enfield. It's a superbly made piece of precision machinery, engineered to very fine tolerances, sights out to 2,800 yards. It's also beautiful, and it was made to be so. This stock wasn't sculpted into these complex curves for purely functional reasons, Weapons have always also been objects of art, and in the early industrial era, that tradition still survived. This, on the other hand, is a standard Israeli infantry weapon today, the Uzi submachine gun. Like many modern weapons, it's less well made. Most of its parts are stamped, not machined. But it'll put out a stream of bullets, about 10 per second, that will shred an opponent at close range. And like most modern weapons, it's also very ugly. It's still possible, just barely, to associate this Lee Enfield with romantic concepts like glory. The only words called to mind by this Uzi, on the other hand, are efficient, utilitarian, ruthless.
Weapons as impersonal as this would horrify soldiers from 200 years ago, who thought it was only honorable to kill opponents face to face. But that was all they could do. As each new weapon has come along, from machine guns to napalm to H-bombs, the military profession has absorbed it without even a hiccup. And the code of the warrior gentleman has proved infinitely flexible. People who have had nuclear weapons under their command can still see their profession in the most shamelessly romantic way.
The military profession makes demands which few, if any, others do. And of course, where emotionally disturbed people talk about being trained to kill, the whole essence of being a soldier is not to slay, but to be slain. You offer yourself to be slain rather than set yourself up as a slayer. Now, one can get into very deep water here, but there's food for thought in it.
Soldiers are, in fact, both the slain and the slayers, and while nowadays everybody is a potential victim of war, we still leave the business of conducting it to the soldiers.
There is a bargain between those who become soldiers and those who stay civilians. It's not written down anywhere, but it exists in every country, whether the soldiers are volunteers or not. We don't just pay our soldiers money. We let them have their own separate society, run mostly by themselves. We offer them travel, adventure, and status. We show them respect when they're living and veneration if they die. It's a much better deal than we offer to bus drivers or secretaries. But it seems worth our while as civilians to give soldiers these privileges because in return they take war off our hands. It becomes their problem and their responsibility, not ours. And it's not a lopsided bargain because there is a catch for the soldiers. They have to die when we tell them to. But most people join armies in peacetime, so they don't have to do it right away.
None of the young men in this room have been in battle, but that is what they are preparing for. And rituals like this mess dinner are not irrelevant to that goal. It's one of the ways soldiers reaffirm to themselves that they live in a separate and honorable society. In fact, honor, in the traditional sense of the word, something that it was right and necessary to kill and die for, is a central idea in this separate military world. Soldiers need abstract notions like honor and gallantry and glory and sacrifice in order to hide the basic nature of the trade from themselves when they can, and justify it when they cannot. And, of course, the basic nature of the trade is only visible at all in wartime.
Getting away from all the philosophical answers, the reason why I'm here is because it's fun.
Yeah, same here. It is.
And I enjoy running out there and firing a rifle and charging and yelling and screaming. And I enjoy doing drill. And I like most of the things that have to do with military. I did my degree in military history because I enjoyed military history. I joined the Army because I liked the Army.
I'd known some guys at university who'd gone to Vietnam, and so I kind of got interested in the conflict. And then I saw the movie Apocalypse Now, and I think that did something. And so here I am. This is true, by the way, this is true. A buddy of mine saw it, and he liked the helicopters so much that he put in for pilot training, the helicopters.
Not Apocalypse Now. Reality. Vietnam, 1967.